Hey everybody, welcome back to the Bullhucker podcast. I'm super happy that I got that right on the first time. There's always a first time for everything because I got it wrong last week 3 or 4 times. But I'm Moose Lundstrom.
I'm Adam Vokey.
And today we have a guest, Bill Kubic.
Howdy.
From Vieira Wireless. He's the manager over here in Brush, Colorado. Big Bill Kubic. Bill, after when I first met him, I met him a while ago. That's how I know you, Bill, from
5 years ago.
From Safeway, yeah, and I was with Pepsi. So you two are meeting for the first time today.
We are.
Yeah. Bill just resold me my blue what's this called again? The hotspot, my little hotspot, my ancient hotspot that he has never seen in his life. Well, it's been
I mean, I've seen them.
Yeah.
I've technically been doing wireless since about 2002.
Okay.
One way or another, I take little breaks, but then I keep coming back. It's almost like it's my calling.
Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in. Yeah.
Both feet, kicking, screaming, crying.
Yeah.
Usually there's a lot of crying.
I couldn't do it, man. I couldn't deal with people and their cell phone problems. That would drive me nuts. I have cell phone problems, and I'm not pleasant about it. So,
well,
we just saw that when you were setting up the stuff.
Yes. That Samsung gets called. You'd have think that Samsung humped my girlfriend. I was like, I hate you.
Right? Choke it a little.
That's right, damn Korean Samsung. But anyway, Bill, you were telling us that you have a fun fact about yourself.
Oh, I've been hit by lightning twice. First time I was 8 years old. The second time I was 19.
Was it a fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me? I mean, you learned to.
I think the second time was Mother Nature just saying, hey, making sure I was still aware she was there. No, but fun fact, because of that, I'm not allowed to legally be an electrician in the state of Colorado.
Really?
Yeah.
Can you be one in any state?
I didn't pursue it after that. I was, young and okay, and just bounced off and kept going. But
Bill, I don't want to cause any problems or lead you down a bad path. But you know what you can actually do is lie, Bill. When they say have you ever been struck by lightning,
right.
They'll be like twice. No, never.
But it's so much more fun.
Why can't, what would be because you're an electrician, Adam.
Yeah, I was an electrician for a while.
Yeah, that's when I met you. You had just left being an electrician to come drive a beer truck, a foolish Adam, But,
well, they say it changes your chemical makeup of your ability to resist or not resist electricity. Every time you have that large of a amount of amperage or voltage go through you, it changes your chemical makeup. And so what happens is they sometimes, and I've even experienced this, where I've actually been leaning on a live outlet, and all of a sudden I'll smell it burning me before I'll feel the electricity in me. And then there's times where I've walked by an outlet and been about 3.5 feet, and it's actually bit me across that. So,
You ever been electrocuted, Adam?
Oh, from everything from 12 volts to 480.
Really?
Yeah, that shit hurts. 277's by far the worst.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I was in high school with, you don't know, my good friend Mac Deal. You know Mac.
Mm-hmm.
And he was putting in a fluorescent light bulb, and he had like a little hoop earring, and it got a little too close, and it electrocuted him, and he fell off and peed himself, and I laughed hysterically at it. And I love you, Mac. I love you. But yeah, that's when I was like, well, that's why I'm not going to mess with electricity ever again. That's not.
I was doing stage lights in high school, and I at the time thought it was cool to have the wristbands and stuff.
Like the slap-ons?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, like like you have like the chains because it was the 90s, so you had the chains, the
name
gold
bracelets.
chains. Yeah, kind of.
Remember those?
Mm-hmm. Kind of.
Okay, yeah.
And I was up there, and I was leaning on the frame of one, and then apparently I connected with the other one that had a live wire on it. And they said if the ladder hadn't fallen, I'd have probably just sat up there and just shook. But it ended up dropping me about 12.5 feet down, and then about 9 or 10 feet back.
Wow.
And I just laid there like I was in a movie, I felt like my eyes were smoking, and my hair.
They might have been.
Potentially.
So you were 8 years old. You first got struck by lightning.
Yeah.
What's that like, man? Where were you?
So I was on the roof of my house, and gnarly storms have always calmed me. Most people, they hear that like crash of thunder and that just the lightning rip or like hits your street or something, and you're like, it like actually is like a white noise relaxing for me. So I was just curious, and I was like, I want to see what's causing all this. And it hit the transformer and jumped from the transformer to me. Apparently, I was the next viable whatever in the angle that it was going, and knocked me off the roof. They said I didn't get fully struck that time, but the second time I was up doing the hiking trail around Red Rocks, and I definitely got struck.
Wow, like lightning hit you like in the head?
Yeah, well, they said it hit me just below like my shoulder blades.
Okay.
I woke up in Swedish. My shoes were melted to my like shoes were melted to my feet.
What?
That's the worst experience. That's what they should do to people in prison to keep them from committing crimes again. Is you melt their shoes to their feet, make them go through that process, because they will never commit another crime. I promise you.
Well, wouldn't it be better just to get them struck by lightning, like attach a lightning rod to the back and tell them run through the field?
I mean, it might be more fun.
Yeah, yeah.
But probably not.
What kind of shoes were they?
They were just regular like hiking,
like sneakers or hiking? Okay,
like I don't know, like the half hiking boots you get like at Walmart, something like that.
All right. So how do they get them off your feet? They just
so when I first kind of came to, my feet felt super heavy, obviously, because they had the extra weight to them.
Sure.
And they had taken like scalpels and cut it down to as thin as they could without cutting me, and then they heat that up, and then try to peel that off. And then what they can't get off with that, they put me in like a chemical bath to like dissolve it. So you're like putting your feet in like a light acid mixture, and then you got to pull it out and put it in the one with the baking soda, and then let it kind of calm, and then you put it back in, and then back.
No thank you.
Yeah.
See? See what I mean?
So it's like when people get burned and they make them take the salt bath or whatever. Because, dude,
right?
I would be like, just give me the bullet now. I
don't even let my wife touch me with her feet. So I'm very anti-feet to begin with.
So am I. I don't like feet.
And that amplified it. That 19 years old, that set it in stone. You will not like feet, period.
Who are you with?
I was just with a buddy of mine. I had had a knee injury, and so we were kind of doing that trail. He was helping me kind of rehab. And, this was pre-cell phones. This was, 1995. And we went to, when we saw the storm coming in, and I went to go to the place where we had, like, our pack and the water, because we weren't going a lot because of my knee. We didn't want to get too far.
Sure.
And he's like, well, I'll go get the car and pull it up to the bottom of the trail so that, if worst case scenario, we can just roll you down and shove you in the car.
Right.
And I got about from me to you.
You sound like you have an amazing friend, by the way. What's his name?
I'm not putting him out there.
Hey, Bill's friend, you're awesome. Roll you down the hill.
Well, that's the most. But it was just one of those. I got about from me to you, so about 6 feet from the equipment, and I felt every hair down the back of my neck go up, and I remember thinking, son of a, and then I woke up in Swedish.
Wow. How did he get you down? He dragged you? Or
I think he ran over and called 911.
Or he rolled you down the hill, Bill.
Well, your guess is as good as mine. I never asked. It was like I didn't want to know.
What's that feel like when you first wake up in Swedish, man? I mean, did you know what happened?
No. It was so the movies when they show somebody coming back to how it's like the movies, they use one sense at a time, right? First, you hear the sound, and then you kind of smell a little bit, and then the light hits your eyes. I went through all of that, like one sense at a time. Like the very first thing I promise to this day I thought I heard was Darth Vader. And it was the respirator that they had me on, right? And then and then I kind of and then I got a little bit of like weird sensation in my left arm was where they had the IV, and I was like, oh, that's so weird. Like, and then I was like, oh, that smells horrible. Like,
who's cooking right now? Who's cooking?
Like it's like burnt raw eggs or something. Like
what smells worse than feet? Burnt feet.
Burnt feet. And then it was kind of like, oh, what the heck? And then I opened my eyes and I realized I actually had nothing, because again, they take everything off of you on the emergency to check you.
They cut it right off you, right?
Right.
Yeah, right.
And so I was laying there, but my feet felt weird, and I was like, I have nothing, but I'm under a sheet. I'm like, am I dead? Like, oh my gosh! And then I heard, those little pocket torches people use for like lighters, for like cigars and stuff.
Sure.
I heard one of those firing up, and that was it. I was up and out of that bed in seconds, and ready to fight. And,
how did it feel on your feet when you got out of bed?
oh, it was just all kinds of pain.
Right.
But it was just one of those, like, it was fight or flight kicked in.
Yeah.
The lady across the thing from me, she looks at me and she goes, Bill, you're in a hospital. And I was like, oh, so I just laid back down. I guess the best part about that whole story is I worked at Verizon for 9 years. And I tell that story. Sometimes you get people talking in sales to just kind of keep them occupied while you're doing the 100 things on their phone.
Sure.
And this lady in my store started laughing, just dying. And I was like, yeah, that's a pretty funny story. Like, I can laugh at it now. At the time, you know.
Yeah.
And she goes, no, I'm the nurse you had pinned in the corner. And I remember as I got back into the bed, I had pinned a nurse in the corner right behind me. Of course, now remember, I got nothing on.
Naked Bill.
Right.
No, that's not true. You had 2 shoes on.
I had 2 shoes. I didn't consider that at the time, but yeah, she's just dying. And you want to talk about validation for that store that I worked at for 9 years.
Right.
All those other people were like, you've been telling the truth the whole time. What? This is a weird story to lie about.
Right,
Like, that's the
right.
weirdest thing to lie about, in my opinion.
I got to be honest, that should have been one of your 3 stories you told us today. That's a great story.
Right?
No.
I'm excited to see what you got going on. So, Bill, this is your first time with us.
Yes, sir.
It's going to be awesome. It's going to be a good time. I always forget to start off with this. Thank you, Brush Chamber of Commerce, for letting us do it here in the Sands Theater. The Sands will be open. They're looking like a July date. So please come out and check out the Sands Theater, man, when they open up and support a small town theater, because they are cool enough to let us do it in here. And it really is a cool little theater, Yeah. Maybe someday we'll do some comedy in here or something. We'll,
that'd be cool.
Yeah, it would
Like
be
a
cool.
live show?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it'd be neat. So, thank you for that. Also, you can find everything on the bullhucker.com. You can find Bill's episode along with every episode we've done. You can also find us on YouTube. If you go to YouTube, please make sure you hit that subscribe button. Also, hit the little bell so it'll let you know whenever a new episode comes out. They come out every Tuesday. And if you're listening to this via podcast, whether it's Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, what do you listen to on podcasts?
Pocket Cast.
Pocket Cast. That's right. That's a different one, man.
Pocket Cast.
Were we on there?
Yeah. Yeah.
Check us out on
I
Pocket
found
Cast.
Pocket Cats, I never even heard of it till now. But
Actually, when you're filling this out to from the Podbean, I go through Podbean for pod hosting. It gives you a list of everything to try and get on, and they had so many on there I've never even heard of. Man, I'm like, of course I want to be on that one. I don't even. It might be some evil, terrorist shit, Say,
I could not really stomach doing podcasts until I found the Pocket Cast app. So I'll tell anybody out there right now, if you're struggling trying to run a podcast, or as far as, manage it or play it, or, even through Apple or whatever you do it through, Pocket Cast, it has been, it made it so that I felt like I was in control of everything.
So, what do you mean by that, I guess?
So, like, when I tried to do it through, like, Apple Podcast,
Okay.
right, the podcast app,
iTunes.
it's always downloading stuff. You can't, you never know what episode you're on sometimes. You have to kind of mentally remember, and then you have to, delete it, and then real quick, if it's one that, has, 5 a week or whatever,
Right.
it'll fill your memory up on your phone, too.
Oh, sure,
because it just
sure.
automatically downloads, and it doesn't give you a not option to do that, or not an easy option to find that.
Gotcha.
Until, like I said, and then I found that Pocket Cast, and it was like, oh, I'm in control. I don't want to do any of the backlog stuff. I could just automatically archive everything.
Right.
I didn't have to go through and individually archive everything, or
Okay.
delete it, or...
Okay. And you're an iTunes guy.
yeah.
See, I'm a Spotify guy. I got into Spotify. I had Amazon Music for the longest time. It started acting up. We were in a DJ business for a long time, so that's where I bought all the music from. It kind of went to pot on me. So I went to Spotify, and I've never been happier. So, but no matter where you are, please follow the podcast, hit follow, subscribe, whatever they ask for on that particular
It's worth
venue.
it.
Yeah, it's a good podcast, and it's fun. So, and also leave us a little something. We're also on Facebook. Find our Facebook page and make sure you like the Bullhucker. and Instagram, Twitter. We're on Twitter, but we're not big on Twitter. I don't really follow Twitter too much. I just never been a Twitter guy. Are you a Twitter guy?
No,
Not at all.
I'm not a tweet.
No, you're not a tweeter.
Not a tweeter.
But we are on Instagram, so please follow us on all that stuff and check us out there. That's my little spiel. So we're gonna get back to the show. So, where are you from, Bill? Originally, you're from Denver.
Yeah, I was born and raised in Denver. Went to high school in Aurora.
How'd you end up here?
My wife.
Okay. All right.
It took me twice to being married. Took me the second time to get it right. No third time's the charm for me.
Cool.
But yeah, second time was right, and then I actually conned her into moving to the big city. And when we found out we were having a little one, she was like, "You have zero support out here. It makes me crazy just going 3 blocks to get something where I want to murder somebody. We're going to a small town."
Nice.
And so we came back where she was from.
What's your first name?
Alicia.
What's up, Alicia? Yeah, you're over here.
I don't know where I am anymore.
Okay, Bill, before we get started, if you're new to this, if you've never been on the podcast before, it is the Bullhucker. The Bullhucker is a lie, a fib. It's a nice way of saying bullshit, right? So Bill's going to tell us 3 stories about his life, okay? 2 of the stories are true. 1 is Bullhucker. It's not true. It's a fib. So I'm going to ask you, Bill, the one that is not true, is it completely made up? Is it borrowed? How did it come by?
It's a little bit borrowed, and then I kind of expanded on it.
Okay, so it's not your story. You borrowed it. Okay.
I borrowed
So when we're done and we figure out which one is actually the Bullhucker, we'll give whoever credit. You know who you borrowed it from?
No, actually, it was
Okay.
a customer of mine at Verizon 8.5 years ago that told me the story.
We're going to call him Bill. So we're going to give Bill credit after we're done. So, all right. You ready, man?
I'm ready.
Okay. Do you want me to pick first? You picked first last time.
Yeah,
Do you want
you
me
can
to
go. Yeah, you can go.
You want me to go? Our 3 stories we're picking from today is Kermit the Dead Guy, Aloha, and 911. Okay. So I like the simplicity of the titles. So I got to go with Kermit the Dead Guy.
Fair enough. So Kermit the Dead Guy is a funny story. It took place over a week and a half. Have you ever seen anybody like flick coins where they like flick them?
Sure. Like beer caps almost too.
Almost, yeah. But
Okay.
if you do it right with coins, you're doing damage.
Okay.
So I had one of those Coke bottle banks that was like 3.5 feet tall.
Yeah, the plastic
And
ones.
and so I had been filling that up for a long, long time, and crazy enough that sorry, trying to get this thing to stop talking to me.
He's talking about his watch, by the way.
Watch.
If you're listening.
He's not talking to us. He's talking to his
Anyway, so
electronics.
we me and my best friend, our first apartment was a studio apartment in like the darkest, scariest part of Aurora at the time.
Okay.
And I mean, when I say studio, I mean like living room, walk-in closet, a kitchen, and a bathroom.
Right.
So we used to collect furniture, and it was hilarious because he could flip coins, and so he taught the rest of us, and we would go, all us guys get together. We came up with a great game. What we would do is we would pour this bottle of coins into the living room on the floor, in the middle of the floor. We'd all like kind of set up a little corner, turn the lights out in the middle of the night, rush forward, everybody'd grab handfuls of coins, retreat back to your thing, and you'd start flicking them in the dark. So all you'd hear is meow, meow.
This is why women live longer.
For sure, right? Well, it just so happened that on this night, there was a young lady named Stephanie there, and Stephanie was just getting mobbed, so I kind of switched sides and jumped on her side. I was trying to make a good impression. And I took a nickel to right between the eyes, and it like cut my eyes.
Ouch.
A nickel to the nose.
Nickel to the nose. Well, at that point, she realized she was on the losing side, and she bailed in with the other guys, so it was 3 people on me.
What was her name?
Stephanie.
Damn you, Stephanie. Damn you.
Right?
Judas.
So afterwards, we got a movie playing on the TV. We're all laughing and having a joke. She went to walk by. I'm leaning against the wall, kind of dabbing the nose, and I whacked her in the backside fairly significantly. She went into the bathroom, and I didn't think anything of it. She comes out, and she goes, "Hey, Bill." And I looked up, and the old, 1970s Kermit the Frog stuffed animal dolls had ceramic eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she golf swung one of those hard enough that when it connected, it was the first time my nose had ever been broken. I felt my nose actually touch my cheek. It hit me so hard. Right. So, of course, she was like, "Oh my gosh, that's not what I meant to do." So I pop up straight in the bathroom, and I'm like, "Ah!" I'm like bleeding over the sink. You know,
I'm blind.
Well, I still could kind of see it. And my buddy Pat comes in, and he's like, "I know what to do. I know what to do." And he grabs my nose and he sets it. Where he learned it, I don't know if I want to know. But it was like when you pop your knuckle, only with a wet, sloshy noise to it.
Right. Yeah.
For any of us that haven't had our nose broken. And it popped back, and I was like, "Oh." And I kind of rinsed my face and stopped bleeding within a minute or two. So I didn't have health insurance, so I didn't go to the doctor.
Sure.
So, obviously I looked like a raccoon the next day, but I had a job to go to. Mm-hmm. Went to my job, come back, and Pat's there, and my buddy's there, and he's sitting there, and he's like, hey, how's your nose? And I was like, "Oh, man," and I'm setting my stuff down. And I said, "Oh, it hurts." And I turned around, and boom, he punched me right in the nose. I got quite angry.
Well, yeah. That's a dick move.
Well, and he was. Everybody had that one friend that was a total dick when you were younger. He was our dick.
Sometimes I was that friend.
So I ran in the bathroom, set my nose because at that point, I could remember what I was doing. Reset it.
Right.
Second day, come back, and I'm like watching him. Yeah. So I'm setting my stuff down, and a couple minutes go by. I turn around, and he'd gotten behind me. Boom! Well, at that point, I was kind of still bent over. So from the ground, I had that moment of rage, and I swung up as hard as I could, and I hit him in the chin. And I thought I broke my hand. And I broke my pinky, but I thought I broke my whole hand. I hit him so hard. He went up over the little couch that we had acquired. And those big 12-foot bay windows? We had one of those, only it had the stone windowsill. Okay. Right? He hit the corner of that with the back of his head. And, hard enough that corner snapped. That piece of stone snapped. And we're talking like an inch thick piece of stone. Right. And I was like, and he's just laying there. And my best friend Jason looks at me and goes, "Oh my God, you killed him." And I was like, "Oh shit, where do we hide the body?" Yeah. And he's like,
blame it on the frog. Blame it on the frog.
Right. So about a minute or two later, we hear this, "Oh," and he's like, "What the heck?" And I was like, "Dude, I tried to grab you." He goes, "You punched me." I said, "No, I was trying to grab you." He's like, "Yeah." We never talked about it really after that, but he had a lump about the size of these microphones on the back of his head.
Wow.
Yeah.
How long did it go before he actually kind of made a noise? You knew he was alive?
It was probably about 60. It seemed like an hour, but it was probably 60 seconds.
When you think you just committed murder, yeah, time slows down, I'm sure,
What stage were you in on the planning process to get rid of the body? That might tell you how long he was down.
So
sure, that's a good question.
For anybody that's ever lived in Denver, if anybody knows the corner of Colfax and Moline, which is, we were kind of behind a 7-Eleven, like a building or two behind a 7-Eleven. We lived in that apartment for 3 years. Once a year, no joke, no Bullhucker at all, somebody was murdered on the property that we lived in. Always outside, and you always heard it start going down. It was, I think one of the times it was not gang-related, but the other two were for sure gang-related. So I'm like, well, they just leave them out there. Like, if I take it down the block a little ways and just put them in a dumpster, gosh, I was at the disposal stage, I guess, would be the answer. Okay. Where do I put him?
At least I respect the fact you're going to do it yourself. You didn't try and call a professional. You know what I mean?
Right.
You watch Reservoir Dogs and be like, this is what we're going to do, guys.
Right.
Quentin Tarantino was
I love that movie.
It's a great movie. Actually, when I lived in Pueblo, I lived at the Raintree Apartments, me and Nathan Garduno. What's up, Nate? And there was a shooting, and I came home, and there'd been like a gunfight in the parking lot. And I'd walked in. He was watching Reservoir Dogs. Had no clue there was a gunfight outside. You know what I'm saying? Like, Nathan, what's going on outside? He's like, well, I don't know what's going on. Like a gunfight. He's like, oh. And I look on, there's Reservoir Dogs, which is the most violent movie ever. So he had no idea.
No idea.
Yeah.
We were in the third floor apartment, and again, this was pre us having cable. We had a couple DVDs and a PlayStation.
Right.
We used to play a game called Name That Caliber. We would just sit there at night with no TV on, no music on, and you'd listen to the different shots and you try to guess the caliber of the. You never knew if you were right or wrong.
Right.
But you were trying to assume. I mean, because you would hear it all night.
That sucks. Yeah.
I mean,
What do you think about that story?
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And I can see that Kermit thing too.
Man,
I have it pictured. I know those big, beady, bubbled out eyes.
ceramic.
Yeah.
They were like solid ceramic.
So you said you're how old, Bill?
I'm going to be 45 this year.
So I'll be 46 years your age.
Yep, the math works. I already did it.
Yeah, okay. Because that's back when toys would hurt you. They didn't care if you swallow it or whatever.
Lawn darts.
Oh, my God, yeah. Once again, Mac Deal, my friend who grew up next door to, his brother Justin got a lawn dart right in the head, man. It's but it's the
I
80s.
laugh because it's just ironic because, you learned.
Yeah, well, you did learn. And Nick DePaul's got that great bit where he's talking about slip and slides, how back in the day they should have came with a number for a good lawyer, Because, man,
We've all heard the sentence at our grandma's house when you're messing with something, you're going to get hurt. Go outside and play lawn darts.
Yeah.
So slight segue. I was up in the mountains with a friend of mine in high school. His parents had this property, and me and him had found this like 9-foot sheet of ice. We're running, sliding,
Right.
His mom comes out the door. She's like, "You guys knock it off." And we were like, whatever.
Yeah.
And she goes, "You guys need to stop or you're going to slip and break your leg." And mid-slide of my friend, it was his mother, she turns and slips, and I'm not joking, broke her leg.
Oh,
and
wow.
he just kind of penguin walked off the ice, and we were like, oh, my gosh. We didn't know what to do. I mean, thankfully, he could drive.
We'll just take her to the corner of Colfax and Molina. And
Oh, yeah.
Quit sliding or I grab the Kermit. I was like, all right, calm down. Let's not get crazy. Let's not say shit we can't take back,
Man, that was a rough neighborhood.
Oh, yeah, I'd imagine. When you said Colfax, I mean, how far down Colfax do you have to go down? By Casa Bonita almost to even be decent, right?
No, that's actually gotten to be the worst part of
Oh, is it
downtown.
really? Shit.
Yeah, it's kind of flip-flopped, and now because they built UC Health and the Children's Hospital,
Right.
they've kind of been reclaiming all that neighborhood, starting
Okay.
towards downtown.
Right.
But yeah,
reverse gentrified.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's exactly what they've been doing.
When I went to the truck driving school to get my CDL back, they call it the Colfax run because Colfax is the largest main street in America, right?
Yes.
It's the longest, So you start out by Morrison and drive all the way down Colfax, and you see interesting stuff when you're driving a truck down Colfax. I almost hit 3 bums, and it was nuts,
So
dude.
just to give you an idea, having done that, have you ever heard of the Mon Chalet?
No.
It's a little, it's where you go to, it's kind of like a no-tell motel, only they like accommodate because it's like they want those kinds of guests.
Okay. So
Right?
you like rent by the hour kind of thing?
Right.
Okay.
We were a block and a half from that. So Colfax and Peoria.
Okay,
which-
I know that. Okay.
Okay. We were Moline is just down the street from that.
Wow.
So no.
When I was in high school, we used to go to Colfax. We found out where the strip club was or what it was, and that's when we used to go. And kids from Brush, Colorado going down Colfax, we'd probably put ourselves in harm's way, I don't know how many times. It had no clue. You know what I mean? Because we were going to
Right.
see strippers. We didn't care. Totally naive to
Oh yeah.
to the ways of the world. I mean, there was a Subway, and we're eating outside of a Subway on Colfax. You know what I mean? Like dining before we go to the strip club. There was a hooker who got picked up by a truck. You know what I mean? Eating her and got dropped off like literally 6 minutes later. I was like, that was quick. Good for that guy. You know what I mean? But
We used to walk. We would sometimes because we actually me and my best friend Jason had a plan to walk cross country. We're kind of conditioning ourselves. We used to walk from Colfax and Moline to downtown Denver over by Tabor and down to 16th Street Mall. We would
Right.
go hang out on 16th Street Mall and just kind of wander around, heckle people.
right.
I think we were probably born to be comedians at some point. Like there was because we would just find a bench and just heckle people. Like
Looking at get shot.
Exactly.
Where's the Squire at? Is that on Colfax? I think?
can't remember where. I've never been there.
Oh, I went once with Steve Young. The Squire's a notorious bar in Denver. When we first started doing comedy back in mid-2000s, that was the notorious place where comics would go it was the dirtiest room. It was hecklers, comics,
It's where you earned your stripes.
Yeah, it was legendary. I went once with Steve Young. He took me there once, but I think it was on Colfax. I can't remember.
Me and a buddy of mine, you talk about like the kind of more naive people. We went to Comedy Works on Tabor, and we got in, and it was like one of those last minute. I hadn't heard of any of the comedians. I didn't know any of the on the thing, and I was like, well, let's go see this. The only table that they had left was the one like this right here at the front of the stage.
Sure.
And so my buddy, like, we ordered our drinks, and he's literally got his feet up on the stage.
Right. Don't do that.
First-
Don't ever do that, by the way.
The first comedian came out, the opener kind of ignored him, so he didn't really think about it. And I was sitting like you, being like laughing.
Right.
And then the next comedian came out and kind of walked by and kind of gave him the like the little nod, and then kind of tried to give him an out.
Right.
And then laid into him.
Right.
So this comedian actually is pretty well known at this point. The comedian, we know him now as Daniel Tosh.
Oh, yeah.
I remember backing my chair away from the table because
Right.
he was just like, they were staring each other down like bulls in a
Right.
field. And I was like, this is not going to end well.
The minute you told me he put his feet up on the stage, I already knew where the story was going.
You've done a little comedy work. You know
yeah.
how that's just flat disrespect.
It is. And when you said it, it's one of those
Twitched
things where
a
you kind of
little.
twitch, right? You're
Mhm.
like,
It's like,
ooh, yeah, don't do that. That's inviting. That's inviting.
Right.
Especially like someone like Daniel. Have you ever seen Daniel Tosh?
No.
My buddy Tony took me when he's in Fort Collins, and he actually he actually got the crowd to cheer for Bin Laden. He had a joke about Bin Laden, and I was like, that takes talent, you know.
He had just kind of worked out his joke where he was talking about the guy in the theater, and he was thinking, the guy had the "What Would Jesus Do" bracelet on, so
Right.
he lit him on fire and sent him straight to hell as his punchline. He was just kind of like that joke. It was the first time I had ever heard that joke, was that night.
Right.
And I went back and kind of looked at some of his other stuff,
Right.
his routines from before that.
Right.
Once I realized who that was, and I hadn't heard him do that joke before. So he must have been, working it out.
Sure,
I mean, you got to try stuff and figure out,
Right.
okay, how do I get to, but so I lit him on fire and sent him straight to hell. I mean, greatest line in the history. I mean, the only comedian I can honestly ever say I've seen in person funnier than Daniel Tosh in person was when I got to see the late great Robin Williams.
Okay.
I would have loved to have been able to see
His special Weapons of Self-Destruction is one of my favorites ever. Or just listening to the golf bit, how golf was invented. That was one of my favorites.
He did that at the Live on Broadway, right, which kind of evolved into the Weapons of Self-Destruction. And I saw him at the DU Magnus Arena.
I would like to have seen him.
And, I mean, they had signs everywhere. Don't come late. You won't be admitted. Come to find out, the tables down on the floor, because it was a huge arena, were going for about $10,000 a seat.
Sure.
Right? I mean, you can pull that when you're Robin Williams.
Yeah, of course you can.
Absolutely. He had been on stage for less than 60 seconds, and here comes this couple across the floor to their seats.
No.
He just lit into this guy about parking his Land Rover and how Land Rovers were the only cars in Colorado that never went off road except when you fell asleep at the wheel. He's like, just laying into this guy. I knew at that moment.
You got to be careful. Some of these killers. There's a guy talking about like Daniel Tosh types. Some of the jokes are like, "Whoa!" Is Ben Kronberg? Remember that when we first started doing comedy? We would go to Comedy Works. Ben's gotten to be pretty well known, but he's different. But man, some of the jokes he had were you would go.
Yeah, you know what's good when the comics would because we do like the open or the new talent nights,
Right.
When the crowd would go, and the comics would laugh, you know that it was like right there pushing that line of.
If you got that back wall to laugh, which was all comics, that was a badge of honor. So all right, so I like that story, man.
Yeah.
So, all right, man.
Kermit the dead guy.
We got two more, buddy. What do you want?
I'm gonna go with Aloha.
Aloha. So Aloha, when I was a kid, my first experience in a pool, other than like the kiddie pools, was I would just kind of bounce around. Never got swimming lessons, never got all that. My parents separated. I'd go visit my mom at the apartment complex she lived in, play in the pool. Well, one day I slipped and almost lost. They almost lost me. I was gonna, I went down the third time. They pulled me out.
The Grim Reaper must just have your picture on his wall.
I'm sure.
Right?
I'm sure it's like a dart. It's like, am I
Someday,
going to
Bill.
get him today?
It's gonna be so sweet when I come for you, man. It's so sweet.
Right? Like, I always picture it like Bill and Ted's too. Like, I'm going to challenge him to some games.
You're gonna start flicking pennies at him.
Right? No. I'm going to get
Swinging
my
it.
best buddy to do it because, man, that nickel hurt.
Swinging that Kermit at him.
He's armed with a roll of quarters and a Kermit doll.
So after that, like anything else in my life, I got super serious about, like, I'm going to learn to swim. Like, I got my parents to enroll me in swimming lessons. When I was with my mom, I'd do swimming lessons. My dad, I was doing swimming lessons. I got lifeguard certified, CPR, first aid, all that stuff. So my dad used to like to go to Hawaii a lot, when we were kids. He worked for a company called TA Pelsu. They did, like, generators internationally. So he would get, like, all kinds of built up mileage and stuff. And,
Right.
Back in the 80s, early 90s, like, those points meant something, So he takes us to Hawaii, and I'm always been a little nervous, a little scared of heights. So my dad's like, okay, just like everything else you've done, you got to just embrace it, start doing it, right? That was how they got me back in the pool. It's like, just got to start doing it.
Right.
So I first found this, like, 10-foot cliff and went and did this cliff dive, and I was like, whoa, like, that was kind of fun, like that feeling.
It's a trip.
Right? And then so I did like a 30-foot was the next one. And like I did that like 3 or 4 times. And
Right.
then I found this one that was like 50 foot. And this whole way up, I'm talking with this guy and he's talking, oh, I've been diving for years. And, I do like this. And I was almost in the Olympics. And I was like, oh, okay. You're like, cool. Like, and you get up there and they have, like the little cliff and they have the I don't want to say like the token Hawaiian guy.
Right, right.
Like the Hawaiian guy. He
Right.
just looks like more bored than the people at Waterworld, the lifeguards at Waterworld do.
He hits every stereotype possible.
Right?
Right.
Like, I mean,
Yep.
I felt bad, but, he was just sitting there and, he had the radio and he'd tell you when it was clear to dive, The guy in front of me runs, dives off. And I'm like, I run to the edge because I want to see, because I hadn't seen it from that perspective. And I'm like watching this guy go, and he flips over, 50-foot belly flop. I mean, I kid you not. Like, he doesn't even move.
That would
The guy with the radio just kind of looks over. Well, they'd been pulling the guy out in front of him out on the jet skis.
Right.
And that was back before you could sit on the jet skis when they were the
Right.
lay down. And so they're pulling this guy, and I'm like, I know, being a lifeguard and all that, like, I'm like, that dude's screwed.
Right.
So I just backed up, ran, didn't even think about it. Perfect dive off. I don't even remember the dive. It was just all I could think about was this guy in the water.
Right.
Hit, come up underneath him, rolled him over, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, when I rolled him over, he made kind of like I had stepped on bubble wrap. Like, that's the one thing I remember. Like, that's that detail in my brain. It was like, I just didn't make sense to me.
Right.
So, and then, of course, here come the jet skis a minute or two later. They get the board under him, and they pull him out of there. And we go visit him in the hospital. And they said he cracked his sternum and, like, 8 ribs on each side. Like, they said and his jaw was broken, and he's all wired up in there. And, my dad was like, well, do you really want to go see this guy? And I'm like, I kind of need to. I kind of need to know, like, that he made it.
So the bubble wrap, was that bones you were hearing?
That was the rolling him over, and they said it was because what happens is your chest and stuff has a lining in it.
Okay.
And so it was kind of that his lungs kind of stick into the broken ribs.
Okay,
and
that's
stuff.
far enough. We're good. Okay.
I was like, okay, and
So that was the noise. It was because I was trying to. I mean, because I came up underneath him, and I get underneath him, and then I kind of got under to kind of roll him over.
Right.
because I knew he was face down. I mean, he wasn't moving. There wasn't a conscious bit of life in there. So, yeah, my dad took me to see him, and he was like, oh, I need, for saving my life. He's writing all this. Your kid saved my life, and my dad's like, he's like, oh, I'll give you guys a reward, and I'm like, you're alive, and that was the last time I'd been to Hawaii.
Right.
So it's kind of weird.
That's crazy. How long's the flight to Hawaii?
9 hours.
9 hours. Okay. What do you think?
It's kind of crazy.
It's a lot longer when you're a teenager because
Sure.
But the flights to Hawaii, because we had to fly from here to LAX, and then LAX we transferred to Hawaii.
LAX is the craziest airport, man.
I don't really remember it
you're
much.
pretty young,
I just
sure.
kind of remember thinking, because, at the time we flew, it was DIA was just brand new.
Right.
And so I remember we flew out of DIA, and I remember thinking, man, this LAX, this is dirty.
Right.
So, yeah.
What do you think, bud?
I don't know. That's kind of crazy. I know I'm not jumping off any damn cliffs.
I tried it once in Pueblo, a couple times in Pueblo. We used to go up to the mountains. Once again, I worked at that nightclub, so we had a Glenfiddich, like the little cardboard boxes that come in.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So the little round ones. So every time someone would give us nickels or dimes for a tip, whatever, we'd always throw that in there. Well, we got to the point where all the bartenders would throw in $1 every night. So every summer, the owner would take Billy Jack. It's this dude who owned a barbecue. We go up to the mountains. They have somewhere by Westcliff. They have this big rock-like stadium almost, and a baseball field in it. You know what I mean? Like a softball field. So we go play softball, eat barbecue. With the bartenders would buy all the booze. Ooh. The waitresses would bring all the side dishes, and the bouncers, whatever, And then we drive down the mountain drunk. So we only did that for a couple of times. And then we figure something else out. Everybody's hammered. So we're driving down the mountain, going by Pueblo Reservoir, and Jack Severe, what's up, Jack? Says, hey, you guys want to see something cool? And we're like, absolutely. So we pull off and we go down by the reservoir, park the car in a little spot, and he goes, come on. And we go hiking through these, closer to the reservoir. And all of a sudden, Jack just starts running, taking off his shirt, and jumps off the cliff. And I'm like, that son of a bitch just killed himself? Did we just
witness a suicide?
Did he make us just watch it? So I was like, oh my God. And, I don't know if you count Jack and me to think to myself, you probably should be worried, but check it out. Look over there, he is laughing. You know what I mean? And I don't like heights.
Right.
But it's probably 20 feet. It wasn't that bad. I mean, it's still pretty high, but we started launching ourselves.
So much higher the first couple times.
So illegal to do, man. So illegal to do. So there was another cliff he would jump off. I didn't have the balls to do it. He'd jump off, and Jack would jump off like spread eagle, like that belly flop guy. Yeah, he'd dive, but I was like, this guy's out of control. That's where I lost a pair of glasses in Pueblo. The second time we did, the old wildlife warden came out, and he goes, he didn't catch us actually jumping off. He caught us in the water. He goes, were you guys cliff diving? We're like, just swimming, sir.
He knew.
Right. Yeah, he did, but he couldn't prove it, so we got $25 fines. But the jumping, like cliff diving, is like a $500 fine or something. So
wow.
Yeah, back then I couldn't afford that. I had to hawk everything I owned to pay that damn fine. So
right.
So yeah, no, it's a trip when you see it, man. It's one of these days we'll go to Pueblo, Adam. You might do it. I don't know. It's
Pueblo and Colorado Springs are a whole different world, man.
Oh yeah, it's a trip.
Colorado Springs is kind of like Pueblo's ghetto.
Yeah, well, see, I always thought I don't like Springs because it's all gang or military. You know what I mean? That's all the two things that are there. It's thugs or military. That's I don't know. Pueblo, my family's from there, so I tolerate. But Pueblo's got a lot of cool stuff in it.
Oh yeah.
What's up, Pueblo? The thugs. But anyway, all right. I like the Aloha story. I like so far. You know what? 2-0 on good stories, Bill. Good for you. I'm glad you came on so far. So,
yeah, me too.
No, I said so far.
You just might wreck it on this last one.
Yeah.
But
one last story. 911.
911. So one of my first actual, I would say, semi-real jobs was doing tech support for cable internet when cable internet was kind of in its fledgling stage.
Wow, okay.
I worked for a company that was actually at that time owned by AT&T, was then bought out by Comcast in Denver. Back then, it was the internet service was called At Home. It was cable internet. Best best email address I've ever met a person for in my life was I met a customer on over the phone whose email address was drinkingbeerathome.com.
That's cool.
That best email address ever.
Right.
I've been spending my whole life trying to live up to that email address and still haven't been able to.
No dice, huh?
So at the time, I'm a pretty quick techie. I've always been a techie guy. I pick up stuff pretty quick. So they have, you start out on the phones, and then eventually you have people in there that are called coaches. And so, you have this floor of people answering phones. And then you have coaches, and every person had 3 flags. They had a green flag, a yellow flag, and a red flag. Green flag meant, hey, I have paperwork I have to file, so can you run it and drop it in the thing? Yellow one was like, hey, I got a question that I can't answer. I need your help. And a red was, I have an escalation. Coaches were also required to take supervisor calls. So when you finally get frustrated, and you're like, just let me talk to your supervisor. That was a red flag.
Okay.
So I loved doing the coaching part because, again, I got kind of like sales. It wasn't the same. That's, I think, part of why I've done so well in sales my whole life is I wasn't always in that same situation. I wasn't, okay, have you tried turning it off and on again? Yeah, no, push the button. No, on the computer. Not the one on your shirt, the one that's lit up.
Yeah.
So you go through that, and but it was different because, you'd run into different things. So one day I'm doing the coach thing, and I'm grabbing a piece of paper from one guy because, you try to line it up because otherwise you end up doing 30 miles.
Right.
And I grabbed that, and I was answering a question, and this girl starts standing up, and she starts waving this red flag at me. And I'm like, just a second. Give me just a second. Yeah. She starts waving. And I was like, all right. So I answered the question and walked over there. And so she goes, I have a tech on the phone. I'm like, well, we don't handle techs. Techs have their own line.
Right.
She goes, well, he won't get off the phone. And I'm like, because you're not allowed to hang up in a call center environment on people.
Okay.
I mean, and unless you, I could as a coach if they were super abusive. Okay. But and so I'm listening, I'm like, she's like, he won't get off the phone. She's like, I've told him, I've given him the number, I've offered to transfer him. He's like, just take care of this. And I'm like, this is weird. Text, that never happens. Mm-hmm. So I get on, I kick her off, and I say, okay, hey, this is Bill. What can I do for him? And he introduces himself. I'm just going to call him George. He's a technician. I'm here in Texas. I'm at a customer's house. And so I'm working on his modem, and in the middle of telling me all this, he goes, and he has a gun. And he just keeps talking. And I said, did you just say, and he has a gun? And he goes, yeah. Uh-huh. You think that's something you can help me with? And I'm like, I'm in Colorado. Yeah. Okay. So I said, immediately I started thinking on my feet, and I said, okay, George, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to run a diagnostic here. It's going to take 90 seconds. Give me just a second here. I'll start pinging that modem right now. And he goes, great. I'll watch for it so I can see if the packets are coming through on my side. I immediately kicked the rep in the cubicle to the left of me off and grabbed her phone, hung up on the customer. I was like, she'll call you back.
Right.
Click.
Right.
Called 911. And now, of course, I'm having to go through a dialing center. So I'm having to play the operator route me to the correct. Mm-hmm. And so I've got the customer's address because we pulled up the customer's account. And, I'm going back and forth, and I've got 2 headsets now, and I'm doing this, one, with the mic, and then, talking to them. And so we're doing all this stuff. Finally get through the 911. They dispatch somebody, and I'm sitting there, I'm talking to George, and I got the 911. She's talking in my ear, and she's like, okay. She's like, they're telling me that they're coming up on the door now. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, so George, want to run one more test. Can you do me a favor before we do? I want you to completely unplug the modem, and then we'll replug it in. We'll run this last test. If that doesn't work, then I'll go ahead and give you the authorization to replace this. And he's like, oh, that's great. The test where I can unplug it. And he kind of sends it back to me. And I'm like, yes. And so he goes, I said, okay, go ahead now. And he get about that point, I hear boom, 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 boom. I hear police. And I hear, what the, you called the, and I hear the door get kicked in. And then I heard about 4 gunshots.
Wow.
And just nothing.
Wow.
George, you still with me? And he goes, yeah, I need new pants. And I'm like,
And my
yeah,
internet doesn't work.
I said,
I didn't get those packets.
I said, if it makes you feel better, I need new pants too.
Wow.
They kicked in the door. The guy spun on the cops, and I don't know how well you know Texas, but you point a gun at some cop in Texas, you're not walking away from it.
Yeah.
They actually flew George to Colorado. I did get to meet him. Apparently, they had disconnected him, this customer, for several different reasons, several different threats, and the tech was there to try and get the equipment when he got held at gunpoint and told, you're going to make it work or you're not leaving.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, it was one of those moments in time that it's just like,
Wow.
I need new pants.
Yeah.
And I went to my direct supervisor after I got off the phone, like, and I was just like,
Yeah.
you know,
I would imagine. That's
I
crazy.
was in my early 20s, and I was just like, okie dokie, this is worse than living in Colfax.
I was just going to say that you took the words right out of my mouth. You'd think you'd be used to it by now. That's so I've heard stories. I get this so wrong. So there's a lot of domestic violence cases that they do that, like the woman will call for a pizza.
Right.
And they're on with 911 and like, okay, is he there? Yeah, yes, pepperonis, please, yes, and that's, I mean, it's a great, there's actually a system for that, right?
I think that started probably 2000, sometime between 2009 and 2012 is when I think that code was initiated out there.
Right.
Or they would tell like women that was in that situation, like to use the restroom at like a convenience store, because the guy's always like all up on them, and then to pay with cash and to write it on the cash. So you'll notice, if you notice, and then give it kind of folded, so you'll notice that like they always straighten the money and they kind of glance at it when they take money from you, at least in the city.
Right.
Like, I mean, I don't know out here if that's something they even talk about, but I mean, domestic violence being as wrong on the spectrum as it can be, like, I'm glad that there's kind of things for that.
Right.
But, man.
See, I've even seen things like certain restaurants where if you're on a date with somebody and it's not going right, you don't feel comfortable about it, that you go up to the bar and order like a certain drink.
Yes, you're right.
Something
Okay,
like that.
yeah.
I think it's like at Hooters, I think is where I saw it.
Right.
But then there's other restaurants, you order something and then they'll be like, okay, we'll keep an eye on the guy.
No, it's something like that. I remember seeing that somewhere too. That's
I've heard of it. I mean, I bounced in a strip club. Usually it was just, hey, get him off me.
What strip club did you bounce at?
Shotgun Willie's.
We used to go to Saturdays all the time. So there was
Saturdays was the beginning of my world in the strip club venture, just like you were saying.
Yeah.
I saw my first chain link fence there on a girl.
I don't know what that means.
That means since it's Saturdays was all nude, she had her pants off, and all I could see was a chain link fence because there were so many rings woven together.
Oh, okay. I was like, I don't know what that is. Yes, I saw that too. I saw a lot of crazy stuff.
There was nobody getting in there.
No. I saw a botched boob job once that messed with the nipples didn't match up, and that messes with your equilibrium. I'm not gonna lie to you. When you looked at it,
and they don't let you drink it Saturdays because
it's all nude.
It's full nude.
Right.
Right.
There was a huge. I told this story 2 or 3 podcasts ago. And that's where I learned not to touch or mess with the girls, because there was a big Samoan bouncer there. This guy was like your size. He was massive, but he was all shouldered, man. Who picked up a guy and opened the door with this dude, then tossed him for distance. Just not the.
Yeah, like when Ron White tells that story about being thrown out of a bar. Like that's we had a guy like that who actually was in. You remember the Denver Gold, the football team?
Yeah, the AFL team. Yeah,
right, the AFL Denver Gold. One of the guys I worked with was a lineman for the Denver, used to be a lineman for the Denver Gold. So he was a little older than me. But, I mean, honestly, if we put the two of you together, that's about his shoulders.
Wow.
And he was, I'll never forget it. He told me one time he was 5'7", just a little head, all shoulders. He looked kind of like Faison Love, like in the Replacements, like, little, head and then all shoulders. And just, there was nobody that could push him. I watched guys like try to, he would just kind of stand there and look at him and just be like.
Yeah, but his center of balance, if he was only that
If
tall.
he's 5'7", his center of gravity is super low.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's like trying to tackle an ottoman, bro. That's a good.
We'd have drinks after, the club would close.
Sure.
We'd be throwing back drinks. We'd all have who can just out of nowhere, we would just blast him. Somebody try to just knock him over.
Right.
No
dice.
No, you just bounce off and go spinning.
You ever get punched?
Yeah.
A lot?
I mean, usually I try not to.
Oh, sure.
But yeah, I mean, it happens.
Yeah.
It happens. I had a cinder block broken on my head, bad enough that Denver Health told me it was the worst concussion they'd ever seen.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where'd they get a cinder block from? My God, that's
So you remember? I mean, you guys can visualize shotguns before they've changed over into the new building that they're in now.
It's been a long time, but yeah. Okay.
But so you remember they had that kind of valet station up front,
Right.
Well, they were rebuilding that valet station, and so they were doing the back part of where the valets stand, and they built that all out of cinder blocks. And so I had got this guy who, I'd gotten a complaint, and I walked over and I told him, I was like, okay. And, I was like, I'm not saying you can never come back, but you got to go.
Yeah.
And his buddy just immediately jaw. And I was like, you can go too.
Yeah.
He's like, and the guy was like, we've had some drinks.
Right.
He's like, made a couple bad calls.
Yeah, we're cool, man.
He goes, I want to do the right thing. I want to pay my tab. I'm not trying to skip out on that. He paid his tab. And, his buddy just kept jawing. And I was like, you're going now.
Right.
And he's like, I want to see him. So I drug him out the door. And we used to have a thing where, you had those push doors. If you didn't like the person, you used them to open the push door. You
Right.
just jam them through it.
Yep.
I threw him out in the street, and the valets looked at me, and I was like, bye-bye.
Yeah.
And I shut the door. Well, the other guy, like you said, he kind of mellowed out. He was like, man, I made a bad call. He's like, I shouldn't have done what I did.
Right.
I was like, it's all good. We all make mistakes, right? Because I tried to talk people through it first instead of get punched.
Right.
But at the time, I wasn't against getting punched. So
Punch is no fun.
no.
Yeah.
So I walked him over and I pushed open the door. And I was like, man, I appreciate you doing this the right way.
Yeah. Thanks for being cool, man.
Yeah, right? This could have gone really south like your buddy.
Right.
I pushed open the door and I saw his eyes go, oh my. And I turned and it came down with it. And I ducked and it hit me in the head. And it actually hit me so hard it crumbled across my head.
How are you alive, man?
That's what I was just thinking. Grim Reaper's like, I got it today, son of a bitch.
Well, what's crazy is immediately, 5 or 6 valet guys jumped in. The other guys taking money jumped in. And they said, that was the last thing I remember, was looking up and thinking duck.
They catch him?
Well, yeah, they were on him.
Right.
He didn't get very far because he was going to try to continue the assault on me.
Did you press charges?
No.
Shit, I would have.
Honestly, the shotguns paid my entire hospital bill. I didn't pay a cent from that injury. So, for me, it was all in a day's work. But apparently, the guy knocked me back significantly, and I was just laying there. And they said a few seconds later, they heard just this most guttural, animal noise, and they're trying to wrestle him down. And I came flying over the whole pile and took him down and just started. And I'm like, I did what? Is that why my hands hurt?
Wow. You ever seen that movie Cabin in the Woods?
Oh yeah.
No.
Where the teens go in the cabin and there's a bunch of artifacts.
Eli
in the
Roth.
base, yeah. and whatever the artifact they pick up, that's the monster that's going to come kill them, right? I picture that with Bill and the Grim Reaper. Like, he's got a wall with just cinder blocks. Son of a bitch.
Crosses it off.
I've hit it with lightning, a cinder block. I tried to drown the son of a bitch.
Nickels. Kermit the Frog.
Yeah, I did a Kermit the Frog. Who thinks of that, man? Nobody.
But see, he got me once. Technically, when I was 13, I went through the windshield of a car. He got me once. I was legally pronounced dead on the scene of that accident. But
So now you got away from him and he's pissed. Have you ever seen Final Destination,
Yes.
bro?
Exactly it.
I will not. If I see a logging truck pull up, I'm out.
Yeah.
I will turn, even if it takes me completely off of where I've gotten off highways because logging trucks have pulled up next to me. I've just bailed.
I was going, this was just a few months ago. I was headed to North Dakota for work. And so I drive all the time. I come up behind a semi, so had like the Final Destination flash. It was a flatbed semi that, you know, those big like 200 or 300 gallon propane tanks that set out behind farmhouses. They had 15 of those tanks loaded onto this truck. I was like, nope, I'm going to stop at the next convenience store and let that dude get down the road.
I've seen, like I said, I've seen the trucks where I've been, up in the mountains or something. You see the logging trucks come down, and I've just pulled off. I've just straight pulled off. Just like, okay, now it's time to go pee on the side of the road and just sit here and chill for a minute. And
When Bill's like 95 years old, he's going to choke on a Twinkie or something stupid. And the Grim Reaper's like, seriously, a Twinkie. It takes him out.
I'm gonna have like a bottle of water, go to take a drink and drown. He's gonna be like,
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's great. All right. Well, those are 3 good stories, Bill. You did a good job. You know what?
hopefully people are amused because
Great stories. Do you have a front runner?
I kind of do.
Me too. I have a front runner of what I think maybe, but we'll see. So now, Bill, what we do is, I know you haven't had a chance to really check out the show, so we do paper, rock, scissors to see which one of us has to guess first. Let me ask you, Bill, how do you paper, rock, scissors? Do you do boom, boom, and then shoot, or boom, 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 shoot?
I do boom, 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 shoot.
So you
1,
do-
2, 3.
4.
Damn it.
4 pumper.
This has been a thing with us. I'm a 3 pumper. He's a dirty 4 pumper, where I do the boom, 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 and then I shoot there, and he does the boom, 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 shoot.
Which one of you has kept a girlfriend longer?
He has.
It's that extra pump every time, man.
I was married.
That's true.
You poor man.
Yeah. So, all
But then
right.
she must have found a 5 pumper. I don't know.
Paper, rock, scissors. Vulcan Spock was out. You're the one that was talking about.
Rock, paper, scissors, lizard, Spock.
So I have no idea what that is. He says that every
You've
time.
got to find that.
Big Bang
clip.
Theory?
It is the best.
Or the Friends with Joey in the Fire.
Oh, yeah. What's that? Fire.
All right, ready? Oh, damn it. Okay. My 3 pumping ways are hard to get away from. Okay, ready? Damn it. All right. You win this one, Mr. Pokey. I got him last time, so I'm super cheesed about it. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to sleep well tonight, you know? All right. So, hey, man, seriously, 3 great stories. The Kermit the Dead Guy story I really like, and I think that one is true. I think that you were assaulted by a green frog. The 911 story, I mean, I could see as to someone told you that story, but it seems you seem a very techie guy, and even the job you've ended up in, I can see as to where that one's true. The Aloha story kind of sticks out to me for no particular reason other than the Hawaii. It doesn't seem like you seem like a very down to earth. No, so I'll say it's like a guy that's always been. You're not a Hawaii guy. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like me, I've never been to Hawaii.
I got the Netflix, but I don't got the chill.
Yeah. Best way to put it. That's the story that sticks out to me, though. To me, that's a story that it had some detail in it, and you put some good detail in it with the roll them over like the popping noise. So I just for some reason that one just sticks up in my head. I'm gonna pick that one for my Bullhucker. That one's I think the not true. So what do you think, Adam?
Everything you said, I completely agree with.
Oh shit!
So,
Oh boy.
This is tough. We don't
Is
do
this,
this very
is this
often.
a first?
No, it's not.
so like you said, like the Kermit the Frog thing, I was doing the math. The whole, like the ages, that whole thing adds up. 911, like you said, he made the comment that he's like been in the tech, like in and out of phone and
Right.
data and all that stuff. So I can see that one happening too. And then like the Aloha one, I could see a customer saying, just a quick little, I was, on vacation in Hawaii and cliff diving and saw this dude belly flop. This guy jumped in and,
But I'll say this: if we're right, feel no shame because you told the story very well. This is a jump and this is a leap of faith for me. I don't. All three are very believable. They are very believable. That one, for just some reason, you lived on Colfax forever. You know what I'm saying? You've always been a guy who hasn't worked for everything he has.
Oh yeah.
So for the whole my dad took me to Hawaii. I'm like, well, you know what? Is that what you're going with?
I don't think have we ever picked the same one?
Yeah, John Beltran beat us.
Oh yeah.
And then Terry Barton Gregg would both beat her.
So we don't double up often, and I don't.
Tag teaming me.
I want to pick something else just to spread our odds out, but I don't know which way I would go.
Well, pick what you think, man. I mean,
go with your heart.
I'm leaning Aloha. I'm gonna go with Aloha.
I'm gonna go to Aloha too. Bill, let's see the.
Are you sure you guys want to see this?
You're killing me.
Are you sure?
Hey, keep it up. You'll be another death story today. The Aloha story, we got it. Dude, no shame in your game, though, man. That was, like I said, it was just a little bit off of the other stories. Just the lifestyle you've lived.
Oh, yeah.
That's kind of what.
Well, and I'm also still truly terrified of heights. Like, if you got me to 50 foot, like, you're going to be throwing me off.
Right.
And I mean, I might truly ask you to throw me off.
Right.
Just because I am that kind of person. I don't like those kinds of fears, and I do try to. For me, the heights it's more of a vertigo thing than a like terror.
Oh no,
But I might still, you know what I mean? Because I know once I'm in it, my reflexes will take over.
Right. I see. Like, I'm with you. I hate heights, man. The reason I went cliff diving is because Yukon Jack said, "Larry, you should totally jump off this cliff, moron."
I've done it. I've done a 10 and a 15 foot.
Yeah.
Like the lakes and stuff, but I've never.
Because the one at Pueblo, you have to actually jump out. You can't just hop off.
If you step off, you're
hitting
the
a rock.
rocks.
Yeah. Anytime in a comedy show, we had to get on a ladder. He's the one. This guy's like a cat, man. He gets up there. He's not afraid of it. Me, I don't.
He puts the 400-pound man on a 225-pound rated ladder.
Better than me, but because I'll get up there all scared. Hold it, Adam. Hold it.
So like I could do a ladder. Like I could do a ladder to the top of the brick in here.
Yeah.
Right. But if I started having to do the lights, or the speakers, about the time I hit that, about the time my midsection hit that beam, that pipe going across, I would start getting a little shaky. Like my brain would go, "What are you doing?"
Whenever we went to Vegas, we went to the Stratosphere, and even something like that, I'm not big on that. Me and my friend Erin Goff, what's up, Erin? She was at the edge looking off, and I'm like, I'm probably 20 feet back. She's like, "Do you want to see this?" I'm like, "I can see it from here. We're good." That's I always picture myself falling off. That thought goes in my head. I don't like heights. I'm with you, but like I say,
I can look down better than I can look up. I can look down off of something like that.
Not me.
I just can't look up. Like if I had to, like I watched my buddy do my buddy Corey. Hey Corey, even though you're a Seahawks fan, you're still cool. I watched him do the jump off the stratosphere, and like that. Like I had to be holding on something because I get vertigo so bad. I'll fall over like I'm drunk.
Yeah, no, But what do you think? I mean, no shame in the game, right there.
No, that was a great story.
Yeah.
So, like you said, it's just something because you'd made the comment that it was a little bit true, and you'd made up some more, and something you got from a customer, and I was like, that's something. If you hadn't have made that comment about it was a story you heard in the store, 911 would have probably been my guess.
Really?
Because the whole time I was thinking, is this something that someone getting their phone fixed would throw out there? That type thing. So
I've heard some stuff, man.
Oh, I'm sure you have. So
and when I first got in, when smartphones first came out, the favorite thing would be like guys come in with their wives, hand you their phone, and it's got the nude picture of the wife standing right there, and you're like,
oh wow. Or some keepers.
You're like,
okay, share.
Exactly
right.
Wow. Well, that's about our time. Before we go, Bill, is there someone they can come see you in Brush? Do you want to?
Yeah, you might come see us here in Brush, VR Wireless, if you want to come down and get your phone looked at, or just come down and meet a good team, good technical people. If you have questions or concerns, or You're ready to get started?
So we film these a couple weeks in advance, so I have time to edit them. This should come out probably early July.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Best time of the year, Christmas in July.
is that? What is that? What are the deals in July?
Who knows? They make them up as they go.
Oh, really?
No,
one day you might get beat with a frog.
Yes, there will not be a free frog with every
free
phone.
Kirby.
Do you want door 1 or door 2? Do you want the new iPhone, or do you want this guy over here? You know.
I heard every Kermit joke imaginable after that.
Oh, I would too.
Man,
Because you get your ass kicked by him, so that's how that goes, you know.
Yeah. And then that guy Pat, like I said, every friend has every group has that asshole friend.
Right. I will
like-
say. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like Hot Tub Time Machine.
Yeah.
You know that guy in there, like he's an asshole, but he's our asshole.
Lou. Yeah, Lou.
Yeah.
I only remember his name because it's from Motley Lou.
Motley Lou.
Yeah.
Created Lugal.
Yeah, that's right. Before we go, though, I will say I have Viero. I've had Viero for a long time now. That's why I got the hotspot to Viero. There's 2 spots, one by Kersey and one by going to Denver, Hudson, that I have a hard time. Other than that, my service Viero kicks ass everywhere out here, man. So if you're in northeastern Colorado, I think you're crazy not to do Viero.
I'll tell you, I worked for Verizon for 9 years, and everybody talks about Verizon has flat the best coverage. You know, when I came to Viero, like I'd had all that Kool-Aid in me, and I will tell you, I have had better service with my Viero service than I ever did with my Verizon. Because when you're with Viero and you're not on Viero, you actually roam on 2 different networks.
Right.
So you essentially are getting 3 networks for the price of 1.
Right.
And a really good price, too.
Like I said, there's 2 dead spots that I know of, but they're like 2 miles. It's the weirdest thing. I don't know if it's maybe a different dimension.
It's the handoff. I can tell you right now.
Okay.
So it's when the towers are handing you off to the other one. There's just enough space there that there's a gap in the protocol, and so that's why you experience that issue.
I have a Verizon phone for my work phone. They're all Verizons. No matter where in northeastern Colorado I've had to go with any company, because I've had this happen a couple times, I've always had to put the hotspot on my Viero phone for the Verizon phone to work. You know, I've had to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had to use it for like a Wi-Fi. So I really am a Viero fan. I've always been pretty happy with them, and I've always had pretty good service. I've always had a lot of luck with Viero in the area. So I'm glad you came in, man. So what's the address of the brush store?
202 Clayton Street.
Right.
We're right across from the Sands Theater,
That's awesome.
right where this
man.
was filmed.
That's awesome.
I'll get a look out and have the memories every day now of
That's
getting
right.
skunked by 2 guys here.
2 fat bastards that got you.
So 202, that's a number that has history with Moose and I. So that's kind
Nice.
of awesome that your store's 202.
Yeah, please remember, we'll have to tell you that because it's kind of a longer story. We got to wrap this up. We're at an hour and 15 minutes. So, Bill, thank you so much for coming
Well,
on.
I'll create some more, and so when you guys have another hole, we'll try to
Yeah,
try to
absolutely.
sneak me back in, see if I can.
I've been hitting up your boy over there too.
Travis.
Yeah, Travis. I said, yeah, you're more than welcome. And if you want to try the Bullhucker, we do have quite a few people lined up, you know. But if you want to come down to San Cedar and try and stump me and Adam or whoever's going to be here, bullhuckerpodcast@gmail is my email address. You can drop me an email and tell me, hey, I'd like to give it a shot. So we'll let people try. You know, it's fun to listen to stories. The cool part about this podcast is I realized in my life, one of the biggest blessings I have in my life are the people that God has sent in my life. You know,
Yeah.
I know some pretty unique and funny and awesome people. You know, and I don't know why I have been so lucky to meet these people, but that's why this podcast works, because people we've invited on, you know, everybody's got two or three great stories. You know what I mean? So those are just 2 or 3 stories that we'd like to hear on this podcast. So if you think you can do that, get a hold of me, or you can get a hold of Adam, either one of us. So
I'm trying to line up Captain Morgan for you.
Captain Morgan.
No, I got a buddy of mine who everybody, when they describe him, they say he looks just like Captain Morgan.
Does he just do the
And-
pose?
He probably would for you,
Okay.
but he's a guy that DJ'd and bounced also. So I think, you know, like I said, I think he'd do well.
That's cool. Okay. Well, Captain Morgan, invite extended. So, hey, guys, thank you so much for this. I'm Moose Lundstrom.
I'm Adam Vokey.
I'm Bill Kubic.
Thanks, Bill. See you later. Peace.